We have been discussing about Cuiborex versus Bolivia case, and in the last video we discussed the factual circumstances of this particular case, and in this video we will look at the claims made by Cuiborex against Bolivia, and the instrument that Cuiborex relied on was Chile Bolivia BIT, because Cuiborex is a Chilean company, and particularly Cuiborex has been alleging that there was a violation of expropriation provision, fair and equitable treatment, and there was one other provision, Article 3. So, Article 3 basically stated that contracting parties cannot undertake unreasonable and discriminatory behavior measures that sort of impaired the free administration, management, use, enjoyment, sale, transfer, liquidation of the investment. So that was provided in Article 3 of BIT. With regard to expropriation, Cuiborex challenged the measures, the revocation decree by the president. So once the concessions were revoked by the presidential decree, then as we've discussed in the facts of the case, Cuiborex handed down the 11 concession that it had to the prefect of Potosi. Post that, one of the member of Bolivian National Parliament filed for annulment of these concessions, and then the annulment was also passed. So for expropriation claim, Cuiborex was challenging the revocation decree as well as the annulment of concession, these two things. And then there were certain post harassment act as well. So that also Cuiborex was claiming to be expropriatory, and especially with regard to these harassment acts, what Cuiborex was saying was that it was arbitrary, unreasonable and discriminatory. So it violated both Article 3. We just discussed that the contracting party cannot impair the free administration, transfer, management, sale and all of that. So that provision, as well as Article 4, which was basically a fair and equitable treatment provision in Chile, Bolivia, BIT. So this was the claim of Cuiborex against Bolivia. And also in this case, there was certain other issues that came up, that is with regard to the question of whether Cuiborex had made an investment or not. So here Bolivia stated that Cuiborex has not actually made an investment in Bolivia. What Cuiborex has acquired with regard to Salar de Uyuni was, was something that is already existing. So there is no such an investment that Cuiborex has made, but relying on the preliminary order, the tribunal noted that even in the preliminary order, we noted that Cuiborex had made an investment. So with regard to investment, it is made, and then they did not go back or it did not revisit that question. But Bolivia here made an interesting claim that the concessions that was initially granted suffered from certain illegality, and the revocation decree as well as this particular annulment, both of them were valid exercise of Bolivia's police power in administering its own law, and therefore that is not something that cannot amount to expropriation. So what is that illegality that Bolivia was talking about was with regard to the seven concession that were granted to RIXA, which subsequently was given to NMM. The Bolivia was sort of claiming that there were some legal discrepancies, and there were, it was not clear with regard to the legal status of RIXA to get these seven concessions, and there were some violations of mining code as well as code of commerce and all of that. So this is what it was saying with regard to the seven concessions granted to RIXA itself. So at the time of granting the concessions itself, there was some sort of illegality. Then subsequently, the rest of the four concessions that NMM directly acquired, even with regard to that, the applicant did not have the proper authority, and the official who granted these four concessions, Miss Pilar Cortes, she was even removed from her post. So that was a claim of Bolivia. So these granting of the rest four concessions, which were granted directly to NMM, also suffered from certain legal deficiencies. And then Bolivia stated that There were some other violations of Bolivian law with regard to tax, customs, industry safety, and the environment and labor. All of these were there. Particularly with regard to two concessions, Cancha 1 and Cancha 2 concessions, Bolivia stated that the concessions were granted even before the payment of mining patent as well. So therefore, Bolivia sort of adduced many allegations against Coiborex and how it had initially acquired those concessions and what are the provisions of its domestic law that was violated at the time of granting these concessions. Therefore, it said that because there is some illegality in the granting of the original concession itself, so therefore the matter cannot proceed anymore. So with regard to this, the tribunal stated that ideally Bolivia should have spoken about the illegality in acquiring the original concession in the preliminary stage itself, but it didn't do so. Even then, the tribunal stated that depending on the seriousness and gravity of the allegation, it is something that it will look into. Right. So before commenting on the legality of the original concession, first the tribunal had to again settle one other pertinent question, that is the question of applicable law. What would be the applicable law for the tribunal to take a decision on the merit questions of this particular case? So with regard to applicable law, both parties agreed that Chile Spain BIT will be applicable, and nothing else is given in the BIT with regard to what would be the applicable law. So there is no explicit provision with regard to what will be the applicable law. So in the subsequent week, when we talk about how to reconcile environmental concerns in international investment law, we will also discuss about applicable law. So one of the important areas where the host states can easily reconcile environmental concerns in the BIT itself by having a defined scope of applicable law. As we can see, even the Coiborex Tribunal is saying that it looked at what is applicable law provision in the Chile Spain BIT and it could not find. So then it relied on ICSID Convention. Article 42 of ICSID Convention states that in case of absence of an applicable law provision, explicit applicable law provision, what are the law that a tribunal can apply, an ICSID tribunal can apply, and accordingly this tribunal, by looking at Article 42 of ICSID Convention, concludes that Bolivian law will be applicable as well as international law will be applicable. Now it comes to decide the question with regard to the illegality of the investment as claimed by Bolivia. Specifically with regard to the illegality, what Bolivia was claiming was the two officials, the retired officials, Moscoso and Ugalde, abused their position, and then that is how they got these concessions. So Bolivia's contention was, if you look at the granting of all concessions, the 7 concessions to RICSA or the 4 concessions granted to NMM directly, there were certain violations of mining code provisions or code of commerce, and that could happen because these officials exploited their connections and all of that. So this was the contention of Bolivia. Particularly, Bolivia stated that Ley Valda law was even passed in dubious circumstances, and it stated that Moscoso had a connection to Senator Valda through his sister when she was working as a secretary for a gold mine company, where Moscoso was also a legal director for that company. And this is the, and they, Bolivia stated, submitted a document in support of the contention that Ley Valda was passed in dubious circumstance. And what was the document? It was a media report saying that there was a criminal hand that was behind the passing of Ley Valda, and there was some serious adulteration in the wordings of the original bill with the final version that was passed and everything. So, tribunal had to look at this particular question, whether there was there was some sort of an illegality. So, for that the tribunal looked at the evidences that were submitted by the claimant side. So, claimant stated that even though Valda's sister worked at the same company, the Moscoso and the sister did not work in the company at the same time, but in fact they were working in different cities. So there were documentary proof that submitted that they didn't work at the same time, and then they were working in different cities, and rebutted the claim that Moscoso had something to do with the passing of Levalda. And secondly, with regard to the fact that, with regard to the contention that Ugalda and Moscoso, since they were earlier officials with the Ministry of Mines, they were exploiting their connection and their knowledge of Salardi Uyuni and where the mineral wealth is located and the extent and the nature of the mineral wealth. That was used by these two officials, and then they sort of influence a granting of concession. That was Bolivia's thing. But then tribunal looked at the law, Bolivian law, especially the mining code. Mining code only prohibited the officials to obtain an interest in mining concession for the first 3 months after the retirement. And since in this case, Moscoso and Ugalde, both of them have retired long back, and they only very recently had acquired the concession. They said, as per, I mean, that is something that is allowed as per the Bolivian law also. So, since the Bolivia could not conclusively prove that Moscoso had any role to play with the La Valda passing of that particular law, or or there was no bar on retired officials in obtaining the mining concession, because that prohibition as per the mining code only applied for first 3 months from the retirement. So therefore, the tribunal rejected the illegality contention of Bolivia, and then proceeded to hear the arguments on expropriation and FET clause. So in the next video, we will look at how did the tribunal decide the question as to expropriation, what were the arguments that were adduced by the claimants, and Bolivia with regard to the question of expropriation. So that we'll look at those arguments in the next video.